Here.
Stiegel.
Here.
James.
Here.
Chase.
By the skin of our teeth, we have a quorum. So item number 3, minutes. Item 3A, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes for August 8th, 2023, regular meeting.
With a motion.
Yes.
I move that we approve item 3A.
Okay.
Madam Chair, a second motion.
Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner James and a second by Vice Chair DeLore. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Item number 4, citizen comments. Item 4A, citizen comment period. The Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comments from citizens early in the agenda of regular meetings. Speakers are provided with an opportunity to speak during this time on any agenda item or any other matters concerning city business, and they must observe the 3-minute time limit. So at this time, I'll open citizen comments. Okay, then I will close citizen comments. Thank you. Item number 5, consent. Item number 5A, Limestone Creek Subdivision revised preliminary plan, SUB-23-0305, 179.278 acres, 463 residential lots, 1 amenity center, 8 townhomes, 2 community commercial lots, 19 open space lots, 6 detention pond/open space lots, and 1 wastewater lift station lot located off East Post Road, just north of Quail Ridge Subdivision. We require a motion and a second to approve the item.
With a motion.
Yes.
I move to pass items 5A under consent.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner James and a second by Commissioner Stiegel. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0. We're humming right along. This is great. Item number 6, consider and possible action. Item 6A, consider a request to construct an approximately 26,250 square feet fitness center building located at 19167 IH 35, Crunch Fitness Conditional Use Permit CUP-23-0085. The staff proposal is to recommend approval. Kayla, do we have a presentation for the item? It's a bit funny shaped.
Kayla Sharp, City Planner. For the record, give me 1 second while I fix this so y'all can actually see the whole thing. It's usually helpful.
Much obliged. Thank you.
I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. Well, I don't know why it's doing this. There we go. Technology is weird sometimes. All right, thank you. So we have a conditional use permit for the architectural review of Crunch Fitness. It'll be located at 19167 IH 35. It's in the I-35 overlay. It's in between Amberwood North and Amberwood South, right across I-35 from the Dry River District. So this will be an approximately 26,000 square feet fitness center, and the materials consist primarily of masonry with brick, stone, and split face CMU being the primary building materials, and there's appropriate architectural features to accent the design. And then here is what we have. I'll zoom in a little bit, try not to make it'll go crazy. So you can see on the ends there's some of that split face CMU, and then the rest of it is primarily brick. And then just to touch on the colors, most of that is their branding colors. So that's why it's the kind of brighter orange. I will note that On this bottom one, that is the rear face of the building that faces the Amberwood subdivision. So they've kind of broken up the design so it's not a blank wall as required by the I-35 overlay. It is a two-story building, so they are required to have those stairs there. So there is that one. And then kind of hard to see, but dumpster elevation is compliant with the I-35 overlay as well. And then here is kind of the site. So this particular building will be towards the back of this development, and there is appropriate screening and spacing between this building and the neighborhood that's adjacent to it. So there's some parking and then also a landscape buffer as well. So there's a pretty decent amount of space between those. And then here is the proposed landscape plan as well. So lots of trees and shrubs and things like that along that back fence line. So we have found that this is compliant with the I-35 overlay and we recommend approval. Any questions?
I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
So it looks like the orientation, the front of the building faces Amberwood south, correct?
The front face of the building will face I-35. They have kind of dressed up really all four sides of the building. It's the west elevation, the top one here. That's what will face I-35, and that's the front, the main entrance.
But the bottom one here that we see, so this one has the awning, correct? That's the top elevation
The
that
top
we
one
see
that
there?
has the awning, yes, that's the front.
Yeah, well, that's the one we see here on the bottom that faces to the left.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let
So it
me-
looks like the front of the building faces Amberwood south.
Okay. Yep, you're
Is that
correct.
true?
Yes, you're correct. My
Okay,
apologies.
why does it face Amberwood south and not I-35?
More than likely, it's based on the site plan layout for the rest of the property. They need the parking for the other buildings that will be coming in.
Okay. Okay. Open space. I don't see any open space around the building. We've got the walkway in front of the building that goes between a couple of parking spots and the handicap spots and the front of the building. And according to our own ordinance, all commercial developments 3 acres or more in size shall incorporate open space on site. I think it's about 3 acres. I did the measurement. So anyway, regardless, in the aggregate here, it should participate in having some open space. So I don't know why it doesn't have open space. Do you know why?
Generally with sites like this, the open space is going to be in smaller areas spread out across the entire site, maybe not like a big open space area. But there's lots of landscape areas and things like that throughout this.
There's landscaping on the border. I don't think that constitutes open space. So I don't think it satisfied that overlay.
So this particular one is only referencing this one building. They're doing the site plan for individual buildings. They're not, this isn't for the overall site plan.
Okay, but the other ones that we see here say not in scope. So I'm talking about the
Yes.
one that's in scope. So are you saying we will compensate by having open space near one of these other buildings or developments? Is that the idea? Go ahead, Will.
Will Atkinson, Development Director, for the record. So, yeah, we can coordinate with the developer. Excuse me, I can't talk today. And see where we can throw in like a plaza or what have you on the overall site plan. We can certainly have those conversations.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Contiguous pedestrian routes. So I see that the parking lot and the landscaping pedestrian spaces don't provide any contiguous path to the sidewalk or contiguous path to the other areas, if I read this correctly. It looks like there's a road that kind of completely encircles the building with addition of a few spots and then the parking lot. And there's no pedestrian throughput there. Our overlay says that we're to ensure new developments incorporates Streets and sidewalks that form a connected network, providing a variety of pedestrian and vehicular routes to any single destination in and out of the development. So I think we should be at least connected via pedestrian route to the other buildings, or kind of coordinate a pathway through there, and also to the sidewalk that runs down on Amberwood South.
Yes, so also just to note that this site plan has not been submitted yet. So this was submitted as part of the proposal for the conditional use permit, but the actual site plan for this site has not been submitted. So that's definitely something we will make note of when we review that site plan once it's submitted.
Okay,
We do require connection from sidewalks, whether it be sidewalk on 35 or on Amberwood North or South. There will be some more connectivity.
okay. Another part of this is Vibe Trail. We have the planned Vibe Trail running down I-35 right in front of the building here, yet no direct connection. I suppose if we had a pedestrian path to Amberwood South, that sidewalk looks like it's going to connect up with there. And can you put on the overlay with the other spaces in there, like the planned spaces, the other slide?
Yes.
I just want, oh, yeah, that's it. So if you see in the upper left corner, it looks like there's is that a walkway that's going to go over Amberwood South? What is that? I can't quite tell. And it looks like then there's a pedestrian walkway that curves around and goes down from there to another area. Do we know what that is?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so on the upper left there, you see that there's, the Amberwood South runs up and down, like along the left side here. And then it looks like there's either a pedestrian crosswalk or a bridge or something like that. Do we know what that feature is?
It will likely be a crosswalk.
Crosswalk? Okay, okay. Well, we should tie into the Vibe Trail. I mean, this is a fitness center, so it'd be great if we could tie into the Vibe Trail somehow, or future Vibe Trail, or leave spot for it. So, I mean, I would say at minimum, if you look at the building, if you go straight out the front, we have a divider for the two areas of the parking lot. If that was expanded to make a walkway that went to Amberwood South, that would probably satisfy it. So I think that would be my suggestion.
That's something we'll take into consideration with
Yeah.
the site plan review. for sure.
Okay, okay. And then, last but certainly not least, is the visual impact of the building. The left side of the building, as you indicated, Kayla, with the stairwells, faces the back of the residence of Amberwood Crescent. And I know that we're going to plant trees and so forth, but it's a pretty tall building. We've got that entire, I don't know what's the length of that building is, but that entire unbroken stretch there, I don't think really satisfies the overlay idea of, trying to break up building lines so that it's not quite so monolithic. This looks like a giant warehouse, and if I lived on Amberwood Crescent, I wouldn't want to look out my back door, or some of them are 2 stories too. They're going to see this forever, and I don't think I'd like those colors. I'm talking about the orange, of course, the orange stripe, and this large unbroken feature with the fire escapes. I guess not much we can do about fire escapes, but I think we could break it up a bit. It looks like some of the other sides of the buildings have a few more features, so I would say that's not acceptable for that side.
Yes, sir. So the orange is their branding, so I'm not sure that we're really going to get them to stray away from that. As far as the breaking up that facade of the building, we can definitely go back to them and see what they can do. We also have to take into consideration that it is a gym. There's locker rooms and things like that. So maybe there's something on the exterior, some pilasters or something that they could do to break it up a little bit. But as far as like adding more of this glazing and things like that, that likely would not make sense for them as a fitness center.
Okay, well, I had a look at quite a few crunch locations, and plenty of other people have convinced them to move off this. There's many locations, for example, where the crunch logo is blue, not orange, and plenty of locations where the only indication that it's a Crunch Fitness is their sign on the front. The rest is completely in conformance, and the buildings are in conformance with whatever applicable codes or overlays that other places have. Like, you can look at Cypress, for example, Cypress in Texas, and San Angelo, they also built one. So to say that they have to have it like this that's not correct. We could ask for something different, and I think, I think we should, because this doesn't match up the overlay. So,
Yeah, if that's something you'd like us to take back to the applicant and have them look into, we certainly can. Yeah.
okay,
If I may.
Yep.
Well, Atkinson, for the record, I believe the applicants are actually online.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they want to address some of these design concerns that you'll have as well.
okay. Crunch Fitness representatives, can anybody speak on your behalf? Well, that's okay. I guess
You can coordinate with them.
yeah, you have my concerns on record, so you
Yes,
can
sir.
meet with them and see what that is.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, so for this item, we need a motion and a second to approve the conditional use permit.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I request we accept the application with the proviso that it be sent back for the revisions as requested. And we have a second, do we want to have a second viewing or just have staff look at it?
Yeah, we'll need clarification
Yeah.
on if it needs to be brought back to y'all, then you wouldn't accept it now. You would have it sent back. If you want to accept it with those revisions, it wouldn't come back to y'all. It would end with staff.
I think I'd like to see it again. So I'm going to make a motion to have the revisions done and be brought back to planning and zoning.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion is to return the application for revisions as requested and then be brought back to P and Z.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a second on that motion? I will second the motion so that we can have a discussion on it.
Okay.
Yes.
This is so early on in the fact that like we haven't got the site plan. I don't think it needs to come back to us. I think they've heard our concerns. I think that they're going to get a site plan. They're going to have discussions. We're getting a part of that. I don't think it's to where it needs to come back to us. If this were to come back to us, if this were to come to us like this after site plans, there'd be a modicum of concern. But I don't see that. I see that we're just kind of in the process and we're seeing something that's a little unusual for us. I don't think it needs to come back for us, therefore I will be voting no.
Yes.
Yes, Chair. I'd be willing to let staff look at this as well, this particular issue. I do have the same concerns as the Vice Chair, and I hope that his clarity in speaking to staff, and if the applicants are listening, I hope that clarity rings through, because I do have that agreement, but I'm willing to let staff take the measure of this and handle the communication.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to return the application with revisions as requested and then be brought back to P and Z for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
1 second.
Wait,
Can we get just some for our minutes to get some clarifications on the revisions you want, specifically on the building itself? I know you mentioned the facade.
Okay, I can list them off. Number one, pedestrian walkway from the front of the building to Amberwood South, or from the front of the building through to,
This will just be for the building itself. Anything related to the site plan, we have your comments
Okay.
on record, and we'll address that in the site plan.
Okay.
For this, we just need the actual exterior of the building.
Actual exterior of the building?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like the orange color removed from the building. And the unbroken lines on the upper floor above the mezzanine level on all sides to be broken up with suitable features. So those are my building comments. Per the I-35 overlay.
The motion is to return the application with those revisions and then be brought back to P and Z for approval. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so motion fails 3-1, 1-3? 1-3.
Okay, so when y'all made your votes, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I heard everybody say aye.
Everyone did say aye, because I did not specify if you were opposed to say nay. I said all opposed say aye, and then, or I
Okay,
said all in
okay.
favor say aye,
Excuse
and
me.
then I said all opposed, and then paused, and people said aye.
Shall we vote again?
We shall vote again.
Call vote?
Yeah, let's do a
Try
roll
it
call
again.
vote, please.
Call vote.
Okay, thank you for your patience. All right, so, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Motion fails. 1-3. Yes. Okay, so now we need a fresh motion.
With a motion,
Yes.
I move that we approve item 6A with the comments that were given to staff on the site plan.
Okay, so the motion is to approve item 6A with the comments. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion as stated? Yes.
Yeah, since my motion, I'll say. I'm not in favor of like the changing the color or anything. I think if that's a branding, that's fine. I see different colors out of my window every day when I look at the, place that's right next to my apartment building. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, I think this fits in some of the other things that are going on I-35 that I see up and down the corridor. Doesn't seem out of place. Looks like a great addition to our community. So I'm going to be voting for this motion.
Okay.
Well, I can make comment. It's true that I-35 is lost to a lot of the corporate logos in America, but this area is completely unbroken ground yet, and we have a chance to make a difference, to make a decent place that's a little bit more pleasing to the eye. So I think we should be looking at enforcing our own overlay district rules. Thanks.
Yes.
We will, I appreciate the thoughts of both commissioners so far. I do have to take into account the fact of the residential environment around it. I wouldn't really care so much if this were next to Evo or something like that. But this is a rather large building, over 10 times the size of any home in the area, and is really rather imposing. And I think people really want this kind of business in the community, quite clearly. But I think we need to be respectful to the local homeowners as well. To Vice Chair Delory's comment about the designs used elsewhere, like Cypress, Texas. I've gone through this, as you may remember, myself with several businesses, and my position on this is for each business wanting to come to town and be a part of the community to give us their best. And if they've done something different elsewhere that has been appropriate to a suburban setting and met their business needs, then to me, they can do that in Kyle. So that's my biggest concern with this,
I'm not sure that his microphone was on. Did everyone hear that okay? You heard it okay? Okay. Just wanted to double check. Thank you. Any other thoughts on that one? Okay. The question is whether to approve item 6A with the comments from the commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries 4-0. Next up is item 6B. Consider a request to construct approximately 260 multifamily units and 22,784 square feet of ground floor retail located at 20160 Marketplace. Riverline Conditional Use Permit, CUP-23-0084. The staff proposal is to recommend approval. Kayla, presentation, please.
It's gonna do the weird thing again, so 1 second. Eventually I'll figure out how to not have it do that. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is a conditional use permit for a mixed-use development. It's not within the I-35 overlay, however, there is a development agreement. So there's some special things to consider with this one. My computer's freezing, so. Okay, this will be at 20160 Marketplace Avenue. It's right behind the development where Chipotle and some of those other restaurants are going in, just to kind of familiarize yourself with the area. It'll be about 260 multifamily apartment units, and then approximately 22,000 square feet of ground floor retail, with the ground floor retail facing Marketplace Avenue, and then to the north, technically north, separating this development from the shopping center fronting 1626. The Vibe Trail will be there, so there will be some retail fronting that Vibe Trail as well with this one. So, and then just some things that we're going to be looking at with the architectural guidelines per the development agreement. Buildings that are fronting Marketplace or fronting the Vibe Trail have to have a minimum of 60% masonry, with a minimum 40% of that being brick or stone specifically. Internal buildings to the site, which you'll see here in a second, it'll kind of make a little bit more sense, have to have a minimum of 30% masonry, with at least 20% of that being brick or stone. And then their service buildings, parking, other accessory buildings have to have a minimum 20% masonry or stucco. So okay, so this is kind of the overall site plan. The bottom is Marketplace Avenue. So you have those buildings fronting Marketplace that will have ground floor retail, and then buildings 3 and 4 will also have some retail, and those front the Vibe Trail. So here are the building materials they are planning on using, and then there's going to be a lot of these, and they're not all on one page, so I'm so sorry. But just to, as kind of a reference, we do find that this is compliant with the development agreement. So there's that one. This is one of those buildings that will have to have the 60% masonry. So, and then this is, the bottom is the rear elevation. And then side elevations, which the side elevations have to have the same materials as the front and the rear. This is another one. Okay. This one is building 3, so this one is fronting the Vibe Trail. If I'm going too fast, you'll slow me down, but I know these are kind of very large buildings to look at. Okay, this should be the last one facing the Vibe Trail or Marketplace. And then this is one of the internal buildings, so they still have a consistent design across the board, just the requirement for masonry is a little bit lower, but it is compliant with the development agreement. So then these are some of their service maintenance buildings, cabanas, things like that. They're primarily stucco, so they definitely meet that requirement per the development agreement. And then dumpster enclosure is split face CMU, so that also meets their requirement. And that's all I got. Any questions?
Yep, okay. No questions? I do have a couple of questions. So because this is close to the Vibe Trail, there are going to be a lot of people coming through here on bikes or alternate, ways of transportation. Does this, I guess, community have something ready for those kinds of vehicles? Like bikes or carts or something? Where would those go so that people using the Vibe Trail can take advantage of whatever businesses are in their establishment?
Like bike racks and golf cart charging stations, things like that.
Yeah.
I believe so. Will, if you know off the top of your head, or do you want to look up and confirm?
And for the record, give me a moment. I'm going to pull up the DA and see if it mentions any specific
Okay.
requirements for golf cart parking and stuff like that. So
Okay.
just a moment.
I know that we've had some other spots where they gave like a designated golf cart parking. It might just not be in this section. It might be more on the other side, but
Yeah, we do also allow in our code a slight reduction in parking to accommodate some golf cart parking. So it also might be that it's more so on the retail sites that have not been constructed yet, the standalone retail. But as far as I know, and Will's gonna confirm, I don't know that there's any sort of specific requirement for
to have it.
those.
Sure. And one question, so on the, I guess this is like I'm gonna call it a floor plan, that's not the right word though, where it's the map that shows
The
the
site
layout of
plan.
the 5 buildings.
Sorry if I make y'all dizzy. Okay.
There we go. So on the left of building 1, there's a section of pavement that's gray. I was just wondering why it's gray. Does that mean anything?
I do not know.
We can speak to this. We're here, representative. Yeah. So my name is Bob Newell, I'm the architect, and that's just a pavement that's different than we have pavers or colored concrete. It's just to set off the pavement in front of the retail, and then also the entry into the multifamily portion of it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. I'll sit up here if you have any.
Okay, let's see. I guess my last question is, I very much like the arcade kind of design going along building 1 and 2, with the covered entries over those businesses. I think that's really nice. The nature of this, I'm assuming, is that they're leasing these spaces out. When they're leasing these spaces, do we know if the businesses will be able to use these to actually make the arcade kind of come alive with seating or something, if it's a restaurant kind of thing?
If the sidewalk is wide enough, they'll be able to get some outdoor dining. I don't know off the top of my head how wide that sidewalk area is. There is a minimum clearance that they have to keep for a walkway though. So it'll kind of depend on that, and then also who the tenants are.
Can I say something to that too? Can you go back to the site plan for just a second? So if you can see building 2 towards the Vibe Trail, we planned for a restaurant to be at that corner, and there's a patio that's covered. And also in between buildings 1 and 2, there's a small little cafe opportunity we're trying to energize some of these spaces around, not necessarily along that frontage, but on the ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The sidewalk is, I think it's 12 feet deep. It's pretty healthy sidewalk on the front, between the parking and the, underneath the arcade. So, I mean, you would see like a typical retail where you have maybe some two top tables in there with an ice cream shop or something like that. We envision it to be pretty alive.
Cool. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to point out that this development is nicely tied into the Vibe Trail, runs all the way down here, and then is tied into a overall circulation pattern for pedestrians in here. The large area down on the marketplace side in front of building 1 and 2 is quite broad, and then you can see that on the left side, there's actually a sidewalk that goes over to building 5 and around it. So this is nicely tied in. I think all the finishes are really nice on the buildings, pleasing to the eye. They're large buildings, not much you can do about that really, but the way they're broken up using a variety of textures and materials, I think is really nice. This is the kind of thing that I would expect for our developments in Kyle.
I would agree with that, and also note the small detail that there's a dog wash maintenance area. That's getting into some detail, and probably quite important to living in this kind of mixed-use environment.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, so we will need a motion and a second to approve this conditional use permit.
Madam Chair, make
Yes.
a motion to approve this conditional use permit.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Vice Chair DeLore and a second by Commissioner James. The motion is to approve item 6B. Any discussion on the motion? Yes.
Yeah, I just definitely want to say this is a great use of this area, especially look at the nature of the shape of the lot they have. Like they did a really good job packing all of that into that space, and I hope that we see more of that coming in the future, especially as we are loading that Marketplace Avenue corridor. So I just want to put that out there if anyone's looking to develop that area.
Okay, so the motion is whether to approve item 6B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, item number 7, zoning. Item 7A, consider and make a recommendation to City Council regarding a request by Pam Madere of Jackson Walker LLP on behalf of Caraway Cattle Company Family Partnership, LLLP, Z-22-0110, to rezone approximately 101 acres to planned unit development PUD to include approximately 72 acres of retail services zoning, RS, and approximately 29 acres of multifamily apartments, R33, for property located at 301 Bebee Road in Hayes County, Texas. Staff recommendation is to vote to postpone consideration to our August 29th special called Planning and Zoning meeting. This will allow the entitlements like annexation, zoning, and development agreement to continue on as scheduled for September 5th, 2023 and September 19th, 2023 City Council meetings. We do have a public hearing on this item, which will remain open until the special called meeting on August 29th, 2023. If any member of the public wishes to speak, they must state their name and observe the 3-minute time limit. So at this time, I'll open our public hearing. Okay, Will, do we have a presentation?
All right, Will Atkinson, the Planning Director for the record. So as stated in the agenda item, we have been working diligently with the end user, the developer of the site, and they are not quite ready to finish reviewing the PUD documents so that we could bring it to y'all today. So they did request a postponement for it, but as you stated, this will be at the special called meeting next Tuesday on the 29th for reconsideration, and the public hearing does need to stay open, so it gives opportunity for any concerned citizens wanting to speak to be able to do so. Again, it's for the to maintain the rest of the schedule that we have, that we've been coordinating with the developer to make sure they can get their annexation, their zoning. There's going to be a development agreement as well for this project, and so all of those are anticipated to coalesce on the 19th. So we're doing our part of this to help maintain that schedule as well.
Okay. So, are there any questions for Will right now? Yes.
I know there's a lot of things going on towards the 19th. Is there anything we lose by not having it the 19th?
Yes, because there has to be a recommendation vote by the Planning and Zoning Commission before it can be considered by City Council. And if it does not happen on the 19th, if it does not happen on the 29th, then that pushes back the zoning schedule and then subsequently the annexation schedule and also the development agreement and the potential TERs that we're going to have on site as well. Because they all have public notices. It's all coming together.
With a follow-up. Especially hearing there's now a TERS attached to this. Or potential TERS. So, is there a worry that if it doesn't happen on September 19th that the owner would withdraw their voluntary annexation?
I don't have the answer to that question, but this is a project that is very important to both staff, the owners, the developer, City Council as well. City Council is very aware of this project. There was a presentation today for the state of the city as well, talking about this project. So it's out in the public, and so we're trying to really make sure we can get this project wrapped up. There was just a little bit of delays on the developer side, so no, we feel we can maintain the schedule if with a delayed vote from y'all from a week from now for the rest of the project.
Okay.
Looking at the original memo to the city attorney, there's words right away, quickly, moving forward. There's a lot of rush that I sense here in this process, but they're willing to pull back to consider whether or not they can meet the terms of the city. Is that the case? That they have been working with you and the council to work this out, but they're just not prepared?
They are almost ready from the zoning perspective. We just didn't quite meet the deadline from the zoning side of it to make it to this meeting. So we are wrapping up the review of it this week. So the zoning will be available for the 8/29 meeting.
Since there's an urgency with this, the question is, broadly, what could go wrong in terms of not meeting the schedule, since that they haven't fulfilled their end of it yet? What could go wrong? That's a lot of time pressure that we're talking about.
It is, and we're working through it with them on our side as well. So we're going to be able to have the documents ready to go for next week, specifically for the PUD, for the zoning aspect of it. At this juncture, simply delaying the recommendation vote to y'all by 1 week is a lot more simple from managing the overall entitlement timeline than delaying it to the next regular voting meeting in September. If that happens, that throws everything else out of alignment, and we risk making a big misstep from a legal perspective, from having to maybe renotice for public hearings and what have you, and we want to make sure we have all our I's and T's dotted, and we still do with this recommendation.
So the question is then, do we lose risk of voluntary annexation for failing to operate on their timeline?
No, not generally, because this 37 acres, 38 acres has a non-annexation development agreement on it. So when the site does develop, regardless of the project, they still have to be annexed. But you have to have an annexation complete before the zoning happens. So,
Yeah, I was just trying to come to an understanding of this, get all the ducks in a row here, just because the owner authorization at the bottom below the notary even put the owner may withdraw voluntary annexation application any time prior to final city council approval. And that was written in longhand with an insertion of the word voluntary above the line. So it caused me concern.
And they can do that, even if that wasn't inserted in there. If the property owner decides and this is in any case, not necessarily this project, they can always retract their request for annexation.
Yes.
You said something that's kind of concerning to me. We have dotted our I's and crossed our T's by going faster versus slower. Is the least government thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So explain that to me, how we can still have our I's and T's dotted in a process in which we are going faster.
So when we're talking about getting all the scheduling for the public hearings and all the documents related to that, we have all those worked out. If we have to delay all the other permits, that's when we risk skipping a step on accident and messing something up, which we want to avoid. We'll do our very best to not do that, but we already have a schedule set that we've shared with everybody from the developer and team and staff. So that's why we're trying to hold true to that as much as we possibly can.
Is there anything that the developer could have done differently so that all of us weren't in this position? It seems that they weren't prepared somehow to be in this process.
We've been working with them for quite some time, and going back and forth with them. And so I cannot speak for the developer, I'll say that. But we are nearing the finish line from staff review on the documents and what have you. And so we're getting one last look on the PUD this week before we put it on the agenda. And they're going to be addressing our comments that we've given to them and what have you to make this project that we're pursuing on this, that they're pursuing, a good project. So there's always, most of the time behind the scenes that y'all don't see, there's always a bit of a rush at the end, regardless of the project, to make things happen. And in this case specifically, it was they asked for the delay because they didn't quite just have enough time. So working on their side, so with their legal team and their financiers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be my concern, because we're legally bound to hearing notices and other pro forma kind of activities, and they're not. But it seems like the imposition becomes ours rather than it being properly their burden to get their I's dotted and T's crossed. So just as a reaction to this, I know that a lot of things are very deadline driven and become very urgent, but even this memo to the city attorney just sounds like they're tap dancing fast and aren't ready for the dance, really. And that's of concern to me, that developers come to the city and haven't done that. I mean, here in this memo, it even says we want to pull out of the P&Z because we need to sit and watch a city council meeting for what? To see what their discussion is about what? I mean, to me, that's like, what do we need, cheat notes to do the activity? I'm not sure what the point of all that is, really, to be quite frank. We're going to be caught in the same dilemma of getting caught up in the pressure and noting Commissioner's comment on I's dotted and T's crossed, that we get hurried, and that may not happen appropriately, not just meeting hearing deadlines, but we may miss something here. So that would be my concern, generally speaking. But this is one of the most concerning things I've seen, to open these documents and be confronted with this, quite frankly. As a result, if we do speak to this next week, can we actually wrap this up in a reasonable time, or is there going to be more surprises, is my question.
From the staff recommendation on the PUD zoning, I'm looking at on the request letter right now. So so at the last council meeting, there was a public presentation for this project. And city council provided feedback to them for them to be updating their proposed project. And so they are working through that right now. And let's see, the additional city. Right, and that's where the request comes in, because we had let them know, we gave them the schedule and all that. It did take a little bit extra time for them to respond to comments and also council's request for updating the proposal. And so that's them telling us right there that they were not going to make the deadline for this meeting. And so that's why when we coordinated with them as well, that we were going to be recommending a postponement to the 8/29 meeting. So we have been working together with them actually pretty well.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, so we need a motion and a second on this item. I will make a motion, I guess. The motion will be to postpone consideration of this item 7A to the August 29th, 2023 special called Planning and Zoning meeting. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Chair Onken and a second by Vice Chair DeLore. The motion is to postpone consideration of the item till August 29th. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes.
So, because this, as we say, this project is public now. Yeah, I will say I'm a little disappointed that when a large company is asking us for TERS money, that they would then put us in this situation. While I'm going to vote yes to postpone it, I'm also not committing to not postpone it next time if we don't get the kind of information that we need or commitment that we need from this company to actually do business appropriately in our city. Like, this is unacceptable. We should not be put in this situation. Or we are asking, what is our legal recourse of where we are at as members of the Planning and Zoning Commission? We should not feel pushed around. And I think there is a little bit of a sentiment of that. I think it needs to be highlighted before that vote happens. It's important. When companies come to this community, they commit to being our best in our community. We might disagree on the color of, Crunch Fitness, but we don't disagree on that. And this is one of those things. Being the best means playing by the rules that we need to talk to our citizens effectively, to get feedback effectively, and to come to this meeting feeling prepared. So I will be voting for it, but I think that needs to be heard by the members of the company, the members and their representatives. Thank you.
Yes.
I agree with those sentiments 100% and really couldn't improve upon them. I think that this is a busy environment in terms of development, but this is one project that's come before us that has left me with a strange an uncomfortable feeling about how this has come about. So I would agree to a postponement, but really this needs scrutiny, and I hope we're provided the information we need to really give this fair consideration. And we're talking about a PUD here. We're not talking about some minor zoning change. And to me, that's quite important, and we could wind up with some serious disadvantages the way this is all happening. So at any rate, I would agree with the commissioner, but also say I will vote to postpone.
So I'll chime in that I did watch the council meeting last week where this item was presented, and I'm very excited to see it come before us and to get more information about it. I think it's a really interesting project, and I know people have been working hard on it for some time. So I would have loved to have seen it today, but I understand that they had to take some comments from council last week that wasn't going to be ready by the time we had our agendas, shared on Friday. So it's unfortunate, and, can't guarantee, of course, that next week we'll have all the information that we need to come to a decision. And I hope it doesn't delay things down the road because of that. It is a tight schedule, but I'm excited for this one. So that's it for me. Okay, so The question is whether to postpone consideration of item 7A to the August 29th, 2023 special called Planning and Zoning meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 8, general discussion. Item 8A, discussion only regarding the Planning and Zoning Commission request for future agenda items. Does the commission have any items to be requested? No, okay. Item number 9, staff report. Item 9A, staff report. Does staff have a report for the commission?
A few items. Will Atkinson for the record. We have the upcoming state conference in November, as we stated last time. As at this moment, I don't believe we've had any feedback from any of the commissioners to see if they are going to attend or not. We do need that very quickly. So please confirm with us via email. In an ideal situation, we would like it by the end of the week. And so that way we can get all that rolling from a scheduling, get you booked on hotel rooms and all that kind of fun stuff that are related to the conference. We are still working through internally the request from y'all for the MXD lot sizing and what have you. We've been trying to coordinate with some architecture firms to see if they might be able to do to help us out, kind of do some quick SketchUps and all that kind of stuff, but we're running into a bit of a wall there. So we are working on it. I just wanted to make sure that y'all are aware of that. And be on the lookout for an email regarding timing of the special called meeting for reconsideration on the agenda item that you just voted on for next Tuesday, because we need to be careful about how we're scheduling it around the meeting of the comprehensive plan as well. So it might be a little bit before, it might be a little bit after. I'm hoping to lean towards before, but I need to know what y'all's schedules are, so I'll be shooting out an email from that perspective. I just don't want y'all to be exhausted after the comp plan draft discussion to do it afterwards. So, but I want your feedback on what time we want to have that meeting. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, item number 10, adjournment. As we've completed all the items on our meeting's agenda, there's no further business that we can discuss, so we are adjourned.